Maybe it's a risk assessment. Maybe it's institutionalized mental health or wraparound services, but anything that can be done. And I raise all this today because if you were to speak to the families, as I know my colleague from Florida and I often do, they will tell you that the most important thing we can do to honor the memory of their children that they lost in this terrible tragedy is to make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else. And now, one more thing we'd like to do to honor the victims of this tragedy. My colleague, Senator Scott, and I have put forth a resolution that commemorates this day. It honors the survivors. It pledges continued support for their recovery. It recognizes the strength and resiliency of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School and the community that surrounds it. It expresses gratitude to the emergency medical and healthcare professionals of the community for their efforts in responding and caring for the victims and survivors. Most of all, it commemorates the victims that were killed in the attack, and it offers the Senate's heartfelt condolences and deepest sympathies to the families, loved ones, and friends of the victim. Madam President, as of in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of Senate Res. 71 submitted earlier today.
Clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 71, honoring the memory of the victims of the senseless attack at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School 1 year ago.
Is there objection to proceeding of the measure? Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection? Without objection.
Madam President, I yield the floor.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the senator from Florida be given 3 minutes to follow up on, or does he want 3 minutes to speak on the resolution of his colleague from Florida, and then
Senator from Florida.
I'd like to thank my colleague, Senator Rubio, for standing with me today to remember the victims and their families on this tragic anniversary, and for his unwavering commitment to school safety. Elisa Aladeff, Scott Beagle, Martin Duque Aguiano, Nicholas Duarte, Aaron Feiss, Jamie Guttenberg, Chris Hickson, Luke Hoyer, Kara Lohron, Gina Montato, Joaquin Oliver, Elena Petty, Meadow Pollock, Helena Ramsey, Alex Shatter, Carmen Schintrup, Peter Wang. 1 year ago today, these 17 souls were taken from us in a brutal act of violence. They were sons and daughters, brothers and sisters. They were students and athletes and musicians and teachers. Not a day goes by that I don't think about that day and the amazing people that were snuffed out by the deranged actions of a madman. Over the course of the last year, I've spent countless hours with the families of the victims. Unfortunately, I wish we had never met like this. They've been partners in our efforts to ensure that this never happens again. We work together, along with educators, mental health professionals, and law enforcement, to pass the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act to make sure our state does everything in its power to prevent tragedies like this from happening again. Today, the state of Florida stands united with heavy hearts. Nothing we say here today can bring back the lives that were lost. Nothing we do can replace the angels of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School that were taken from us too soon. But we must never forget them. We must honor their memory every day, and we must rededicate ourselves to the goal of ending violence in our schools. Thank you, and I yield back.